John Bell Hood's division to advance. Texans, Alabamians, and Georgians swept forward over Warfield Ridge and made their way toward Little Round Top, Devil's Den, and a small wheat field.
At this time, Adjutant Lee Terrell of Law's Brigade rode in front of the 4th Alabama Regiment and commanded, "Attention, 4th Alabamians!" The men sprang to their feet, their guns at an order. The thought that passed through the mind of the soldier was, "Oh God, just a half hour's rest." As soon as we were at attention, the command was, "Shoulder arm!" And then, "Right shoulder, shift arm!" And then, "Forward, guard center, march!" Then arose that wild, indescribable battle yell that no one having heard ever forgot. The men sprang forward as if at a game of ball. The air was full of sound. Grape and canister from the Federal battery hurtled over us as we descended the hill into the valley. Men were falling, stricken to death. The younger officers made themselves conspicuous by rushing to the front, commanding and urging their men to come on. W.C. Ward, 4th Alabama.
Beyond our corps, to the left, a terrible pounding and crashing going on. The breeze blowing from the southward carried the heavy sulphurous smoke in clouds along the ground, at times concealing everything. Our skirmishers now began a lively popping, the first drops of the thunder shower that was to break upon them. An aide rode up with the report that heavy masses of the enemy were gathering in our front and to prepare for an attack. Our skirmishers were hotly engaged now and moving back slowly. A copious shower of shell and canister from the enemy was followed up by a diabolical cheer and yell, and "Here they come!" rang along the line. Captain Adolfo Cavada, aide to General Humphreys, Army of the Potomac.
Alabamians and Texans clambered up the wooden slopes of Big Round Top, but its steep ascent and stubborn resistance from the Union sharpshooters slowed their advance toward Little Round Top.
In places, the men had to climb up, catching to the rocks and bushes and crawling over the boulders in the face of the fire of the enemy, who kept retreating, taking shelter and firing down on us from behind the rocks and crags which covered the side of the mountain, thicker than gravestones in a city cemetery. Fortunately, they overshot us. We could see our foe only as they dodged back from one boulder to another, hence our fire was scattering. Colonel William C. Oak, 15th Alabama. The side of the mountain was heavily timbered and covered with great boulders that had tumbled from the cliffs above years before. These afforded great protection to the men. Every tree, rock, and stump that gave any protection from the rain of minie-balls that poured down upon us from above was soon appropriated. Sergeant Val C. Giles, 4th Texas Infantry.
Finally, reinforcements from the Union Army scrambled up Little Round Top and deployed along its southwestern face only minutes before the Confederates arrived.
The conflict opens. I know not who gave the first fire or which line received the first lead. I only know that the carnage began. I wish that I could picture the awful details of that hour. How rapidly the cartridges were torn from the boxes and stuffed into the smoking muzzles of the guns. How the steel rammers clashed and clanged in the heated barrels. How the men's hands and faces grew grim and black with burning powder. How our little line, baptized by fire, reeled to and fro as it advanced or was pressed back. How our officers bravely encouraged the men to hold and recklessly exposed themselves to the enemy's fire. A terrible medley of cries, shouts, cheers, groans, prayers, curses, bursting shells, whizzing, screaming, bullets, clanging steel. Theodore Garrish, 20th Maine Infantry.
By this time, all order and discipline were gone. Every fellow was his own general. Privates gave commands as loud as the officers. Nobody paying attention to either. To add to this confusion, our artillery on the hill in our rear was cutting its fuses too short. The shells were bursting around us, in the treetops, over our heads, all around us. Sergeant Val Giles, 4th Texas Infantry. I ordered my regiment to change direction to the left, swing around and drive the Federals from the ledge of the rocks. My men obeyed and advanced about halfway to the enemy's position, but the fire was so destructive that my line wavered like a man trying to walk against a strong wind, and then slowly, doggedly, gave back a little. Colonel William C. Oates, 15th Alabama Infantry.
They advanced, however, within 10 paces of my line, making what they call a charge. That is, advancing and firing rapidly. Our volleys were so steady and telling that the enemy were checked here and broken. Their second line then advanced with the same ardor and the same faith, and so too with a third and a fourth. This struggle of an hour and a half was desperate in the extreme. 4 times did we lose and win that space of 10 yards between the contending lines, which was strewn with dying and dead. Colonel Joshua Chamberlain, 20th Maine Infantry.